Big injury news in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is going to miss the next 2 weeks with a quad strain, at least the next 2 weeks. And if it were to be exactly 2 weeks, that would be 4 games that she is going to miss at minimum.
And I have to say that I did notice in the Liberty game, Caitlin Clark's shots were all very short. So it was showing that she wasn't like getting off, and she was having a difficult time making those threes, and a lot of explosiveness from those 3-point shots does come from your legs.
This is actually an injury that was separate from the quad tightness issue, as Caitlin Clark described it earlier in the preseason, that she dealt with before. So it's a little bit of interesting situation given that it was the same leg, but the team is saying it is actually a new injury.
It happened in a flash, a twist, a fall, and then silence. Not just in the arena, but a deafening silence from the WNBA itself. Caitlin Clark, the player who single-handedly reshaped the league's destiny, is out. But what if this isn't just an injury? What if it's the shattering echo of neglected warnings, unchecked aggression, and a league that gambled its entire future on one player, only to watch her break? This isn't just about a quad strain, it's about a seismic shockwave rocking the very foundations of women's professional basketball. The official word says at least 2 weeks, maybe 4 games missed. But the real story, the one whispered behind closed doors and fiercely debated online, suggests something far more unsettling. We're talking about alleged medical concerns that go way beyond a simple quad issue, a system that reportedly encouraged the very hits that led to this moment, and a league in utter chaos trying to pick up the pieces. This is the unvarnished truth about Caitlin Clark's injury and what it really means for the WNBA. During that fateful game against the Liberty, something felt off. Even before the brutal fall, Clark's shots were consistently short, her explosiveness noticeably absent. Anyone who's played basketball knows that the power for those deep threes, the kind Clark is legendary for, comes directly from your legs. And it wasn't just a fleeting off night. This was the same leg that had given her trouble in preseason, a quad tightness issue that the team seemed to brush off as minor. The team says this new injury is separate from the previous one, despite it being the same leg, the same type of strain. It's a convenient narrative, perhaps, but one that raises immediate questions about player care and the pressure to perform. And then, in a split second, it all came crashing down. A seemingly routine drive to the basket turned into a nightmare. Clark was leveled, not brushed against, not simply bumped, but hit hard. She went down awkwardly, her leg twisting beneath her, the silence in the arena almost as chilling as the sight itself. Replays quickly confirmed what many fans instantly suspected, a defender stepping in late, delivering what many are now calling a dirty foul. High contact, full body, zero intention of playing the ball. Clark stayed down, wincing, trainers rushing to her side. The whistle blew, but it was far too little, far too late. Within hours, the Indiana Fever confirmed the worst, a left quad injury, sidelining Clark for at least 2 weeks. But the public announcement was just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, whispers are reportedly growing louder. Sources close to the situation, including medical professionals who have evaluated Clark, are allegedly expressing deep concern that the injury might be far more severe than the WNBA is publicly admitting. Imagine this: medical personnel are reportedly urging the league to launch a formal review of the officiating that led to this moment, specifically how often Clark has been allowed to take hard contact without foul calls. That's right, doctors themselves are allegedly pointing fingers at the referees. If true, this transcends a mere player injury. It's a full-blown crisis of accountability. Let's rewind, because this injury didn't materialize out of thin air. The warning signs were not just blinking, they were screaming for weeks. Clark missed the Fever's preseason opener with that initial left quad tightness. Yet, after minimal rest, she was thrust back into full contact high minutes play. Throughout those early games, her signature explosiveness, the very thing that made her a transcendent talent, was visibly muted. Her deep shots, usually automatic, started falling consistently short. Cameras even caught her on the bench rapping, her leg in heat packs mid-game, a sight rarely seen from a healthy in-season player, perhaps the most damning detail. Coach Stephanie White later admitted she didn't even know when Clark got injured. The team reportedly only found out something was seriously wrong after Clark herself spoke up post-game. Think about the immense pressure on a rookie, the league's new face, to hide her pain, to play through hits night after night while pretending everything is fine. This wasn't just physical wear and tear, it was a psychological gauntlet, and it raises a critical question. Was Caitlin Clark already a ticking time bomb, injured long before that final devastating foul? For those who've been watching, the answer feels like a resounding yes. This wasn't a one-off hard foul. This has been a relentless, grinding campaign of excessive physicality aimed squarely at Clark from her very first WNBA game. Defenders have consistently grabbed her off the ball, delivered hard bumps on screens, and thrown reckless fouls that have gone either unnoticed or worse, unpunished. Every single night she's been subjected to a level of contact that borders on dangerous. Yet the refs have remained largely silent. No flagrant calls, no ejections, no real deterrent for what many consider to be targeting. Meanwhile, other stars in the league, seasoned veterans with years of experience, seem to receive whistle protection for half the contact Clark endures. But Clark, she's expected to tough it out. Rookie or not, she's been treated as if she hasn't earned the right to be defended fairly. This isn't just aggressive basketball, it's a chipping away at a body game after game until something finally snaps. And now, it has. Fans aren't blind, they see the missed calls, the glaring inconsistency, the blatant double standard. And with Clark being the undisputed face of the league, the question is echoing louder than ever. Why is the WNBA allowing their biggest star to be subjected to such physical punishment every single night and doing absolutely nothing about it? But the crisis extends far beyond the officiating. This injury has now put the WNBA's entire business model under an unforgiving spotlight. Let's be brutally honest, Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie. She is the undisputed reason the WNBA is dominating headlines, landing primetime TV slots, and selling out arenas from coast to coast. She's the engine driving every ounce of the league's unprecedented momentum, and now that engine has stalled. Clark's games have shattered viewership records, her jersey sales have been stratospheric, and tickets to see her play live have commanded prices usually reserved for NBA matchups. Sponsors lined up the moment she was drafted, eager to align with her magnetic appeal. Cities like Baltimore and Chicago literally moved their fever matchups to colossal venues just to handle the demand. Within hours of her injury announcement, the ripple effects began. Refund requests reportedly started pouring in. Teams that had banked on Clark's presence for their biggest gate receipts are now staring at thousands of empty seats. The Chicago Sky, who'd optimistically moved their game against the Fever to the massive United Center, are now facing the stark embarrassment of a nationally televised game played in a potentially half-empty arena. The panic is palpable. Executives are reportedly scrambling behind closed doors. Broadcasters are bracing for a steep ratings plummet, and advertisers who paid top dollar for Clark-featured games are already reevaluating their commitments. The truth is stark. The WNBA hitched its entire future to one player and then inexplicably failed to protect her. They bet the house on Caitlin Clark, and now she's sidelined, leaving a vacuum that exposes a dangerously fragile foundation. And while the business world scrambles, another far uglier storm brewed online. The moment Caitlin Clark's injury went public, the internet exploded, and not in the way you'd hope. While genuine basketball fans were heartbroken, a deeply unsettling side of the WNBA fan base revealed itself. Instead of concern or support, parts of social media erupted in celebration. Posts mocking Clark, tweets cheering her absence, entire threads dedicated to ridiculing a 23-year-old who just got seriously hurt playing the game she loves. This wasn't random trolling. A significant portion of these toxic comments originated from rival fan bases, particularly those aligned with teams like the Chicago Sky and players like Angel Reese. The very same people who often claim, "We don't hate Caitlin, we just hate her fans," were now openly gloating over her injury. Scroll through the quote tweets on the Indiana Fever's official injury announcement, and you'll see it firsthand. Smiley faces, party emojis, and sarcastic jokes about her being soft or faking it. This wasn't isolated bad takes, it was a sickening wave of targeted negativity. And here's the most chilling connection. This abhorrent online behavior directly correlates with the way Clark has been treated on the court all season. She's been allowed to be hit, shoved, and harassed every game. Now that she's hurt, the unspoken message from some corners of the fan base is chillingly clear. Good. She deserved it. This isn't just rivalry, it's a targeted campaign of hate against the league's most important player, and the WNBA's pervasive failure to step in, to enforce rules, to protect its star didn't just hurt Clark, it emboldened this toxicity, allowing it to fester and grow. But it's not just the fans who failed her. The silence from leadership has been even more deafening. While social media melted down and rival fans reveled in Caitlin Clark's injury, one voice was conspicuously absent: the WNBA itself. No public support, no statement from Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, no warning to teams, no crackdown on the escalating physicality targeting their brightest star. Nothing. It's a silence that speaks volumes, and it's been building all season. Long, refs have consistently let things slide. Hard fouls go unpunished. Opposing players get away with grabbing, pushing, and slamming Clark to the floor. And the worst part? The inconsistency is glaring. Clark gets called for minor contact, sometimes for barely breathing on defenders, while opponents are allowed to play as if it's street ball. That double standard didn't just cost the Fever points, it has arguably cost the WNBA their top attraction, and fans have absolutely noticed. Questions echo. If this was Sabrina or Diana or Aja, would the whistle still stay silent? The answer, to many, seems obvious. Even coach Stephanie White subtly hinted at the deeper issue, admitting she didn't know how bad Clark's condition was because players like her often hide pain just to stay on the court. Why? Because when you're treated like a target, showing weakness isn't an option. The league had every chance to intervene after the preseason injury, after the cheap shots, after the viral clips of Clark taking elbows to the face without a call, but they didn't. They let it slide again and again until her body finally gave out. Now, they're watching the fallout of their own negligence unfold before their eyes. While the WNBA scrambles for damage control, what about the Indiana Fever? With their superstar sidelined, they're staring down a brutal stretch of games, and the numbers without Clark are utterly grim. Her absence isn't just noticeable, it's devastating. With Clark on the court, the Fever's offensive rating hovered at a respectable 107.5. Without her, it plummets to a disastrous 82.2. That's not a dip, that's a free fall off a cliff. Clark doesn't just score, she creates. Her unparalleled floor vision, her ability to command court spacing, and her magnetic pull on defenders make everyone around her better. Now that crucial safety net is gone, and the pressure is squarely on every single player to step up, and fast. Head coach Stephanie White is already trying to adjust, talking about shifting the emphasis in their offense. Translation, it's time for the rest of the roster to prove they're not just supporting characters in the Caitlin Clark show. First up, Aaliyah Boston. Last year's Rookie of the Year had been thriving off pick and rolls with Clark, but now the team plans to dramatically increase her post touches, getting her back to that dominant low block style she excelled at in college. Then there's Kelsey Mitchell. She's been Indiana's most consistent scorer outside of Clark, and now she inherits the primary playmaking load. More touches, more pressure, more eyes on her. If she delivers, she could prove she's more than just a shooter. But if she struggles, the Fever's offense could completely stall, condemning them to a prolonged slump. Role players like Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, and veterans like Natasha Howard were brought in for depth. Now, they're being thrown directly into the fire. No more hiding behind Clark's star power. It's time to produce, or the season will slip away fast. And the schedule? It's doing them absolutely no favors. Washington, Connecticut, Chicago, all formidable opponents, all gunning for wins while the Fever try to figure out who they are without their leader. This is more than just a test of talent, it's a brutal test of identity, and if they don't find answers immediately, things could spiral out of control. But this isn't just Indiana's crisis. What this injury has exposed about the WNBA as a whole might be even more dangerous. Caitlin Clark's injury didn't just sideline a player, it tore back the curtain, revealing the uncomfortable truth the WNBA has desperately tried to hide. The entire league is built on one superstar. One draw, one storyline, one golden goose holding everything together, and now she's gone. Let's be real, the ratings spike? That was Clark. The sold out arenas? Clark. The jersey sales, the national headlines, the ESPN deals, the sold out merch stands? All Clark. When 2.7 million people tuned in to watch Indiana play Chicago, it wasn't because of some sudden surge in general WNBA interest. It was because Caitlin Clark was on the floor, and now that she's not, the fall fallout is already happening. CBS Sports and other networks are bracing for major viewership drops. Teams that built marketing campaigns around Clark are panicking behind the scenes. Sponsors who paid premium rates for her games are suddenly reevaluating their deals, and attendance projections for upcoming Fever Road games are plummeting, in some cases dramatically. This wasn't a league-wide boom, it was a Clark bubble, and one injury just popped it. Instead of leveraging Clark's unprecedented momentum to build a deeper, more resilient foundation, the WNBA gambled everything on one rookie to carry the weight of an entire league. They didn't strategically spread the spotlight. They didn't proactively develop multiple stars. They let the entire house stand tall on dangerously shaky ground. And now, it's crumbling. What's worse, this entire situation was unequivocally preventable. Proper rest after her preseason strain. Better, more consistent officiating to deter the constant targeting. A medical staff more proactive in spotting the warning signs, listening to the player, and advocating for her well-being. They could have protected her. They didn't. Now they're watching ratings slip, arenas empty out, and a growing chorus of angry fans asking one brutal, undeniable question. Did the WNBA just destroy its best chance at going mainstream by refusing to protect the very player who got them there? This wasn't just an injury. It was a flashing red warning light, a deafening siren blaring for everyone in the league office, the locker rooms, the media booths. Caitlin Clark is out, and the ripple effects are massive, undeniable. But let's not pretend this was some freak accident. It was the devastating culmination of weeks, months of systematic neglect. The WNBA had a generational superstar fall directly into its lap, an almost unheard of gift. And instead of safeguarding her, they threw her to the wolves. They let defenders take aggressive shots with no consequences. They let toxic fan bases fester without pushback. They stayed silent when she was bruised, beaten, and harassed, all while she single-handedly carried the league's momentum on her slender shoulders. And now, they are paying the most painful price. This is what happens when a league fails to recognize its own value, when it gets a golden ticket to the big stage, but fumbles the opportunity by clinging to old habits and weak leadership. The media spun this like Clark would save the WNBA, but she can't save anything if she's broken on the floor. And now, the league will have to find out the hard way what it truly looks like without her. But here's what gives true fans hope. Caitlin Clark isn't done. This break, as devastating as it feels now, might actually be the pause she desperately needed. For the first time, she'll get to step back, to study the game from a different angle, and, most importantly, to heal properly. And when she returns, she'll be smarter, stronger, and more dangerous than ever before. The Indiana Fever will emerge battle-tested. The spotlight will inevitably shift, forcing other players to rise to the occasion, and maybe, just maybe, the WNBA will finally truly understand the monumental cost of neglecting its stars. Caitlin Clark will return, that much is certain, but the WNBA's path forward is far less clear. This injury isn't just a setback. It's a profound, unavoidable referendum on how this league values its players, manages its growth, and protects its most precious assets. The question isn't whether Clark will be back, it's whether the WNBA will learn from the chaos and finally decide that its future and its stars are worth fighting for. Drop a get well soon CC in the comments if you're rooting for Caitlin's comeback. And if you think the WNBA needs to do better, hit that like button so this message gets louder. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this story and the future of the WNBA is far from over.